Hello, my name's Stephen from K-Scale Models, and today I'm doing a tutorial in Fusion 360. Now, this is aimed at those that do scale modeling and wish to learn how to do this, like use this software for 3D printing. So I will be going through this to make something I hope will be useful and also demonstrate how you use some basic functions, although you will need to either go look up further tutorials or play around with this yourself to learn a bit more about how to do something a bit more complicated. So let's get started. First thing you will see is the drawing management system off to the side here. This just basically holds all your drawings in your file management system. You'll create a new project and then save your particular model that you're working on in there. My file management system's a bit of a mess. Everything is under my first project, the linear tank that I was working on, but I still have some sort of organization to it so I can get to my Tamiya glue pot holders and all the ones I've made for other people. The last thing to just note with this section is you can upload files. So you can upload any file that you've downloaded that is compatible with Fusion 360. Most importantly, the file I will be creating today will be available. So not just the STL which you would use to 3D print, but also the Fusion file so that you can go in and play around with my particular file and do whatever you wish to do with it. So, closing that for now, let's go over the user interface. Up here we've got our normal file and saves. So file is just like all the different things you would expect under file. Save will either save your drawing to your current location in the drawing management system, although you can't alter it, or just save the file in general, depending if you've saved the model previously. We've got the ribbon bar here. The most important bit we'll be going over today is solid, because that's how I normally make things, as I use the solid modeler. This ribbon bar here is contextual, so what you'll see pop up here later on is sketch, because that will be contextually important to what we're doing. There is different drop downs for different things that we'll be working with. We'll be mainly today working with the create and modify, although I will briefly touch on this construct here. I'm not entirely sure what they call this, but this is where all your things that you create will be. So for instance, it has currently just the origin point. However, it will have all your bodies, all your components, all your drawings. You will have like a list of them here that you will be able to interact with through like these sort of drop down menus that will let you interact with them. You can do like document settings, which is how you would change the units from millimeters to inches. We work in millimeters over here, so we're doing millimeters. Down the bottom here is what we call the timeline. So this will have the sequence that you create every single feature or drawing or anything in. So once this fills up, it'll make much more sense what we're doing, and I will show you going back and forth in it. This square up here is how we rotate and manage the camera. So we can rotate the camera all which way just by clicking and dragging. If we click on a side, it will rotate us to said side. If we click home, it will take us to the home. So yeah, just that view. If you're on, say, a flat side like front, you can then rotate 90 degrees either side. You also got a couple more buttons down here for pan, look. Oh, and that's a point. Zoom in and out is just the mouse wheel. Pan is holding in the mouse wheel. But if you don't have a mouse wheel, that's where the pan is. That's where the zoom is. You can also zoom to a window. Not really demonstrating it here because we're kind of not got anything there to zoom into. One thing I do want you to do though, under display settings, go to visual style, shaded with visual edges only. This will make objects easier to see and you can play around with the difference. I'll do a brief demonstration of that once I've got something on the screen. So, without further ado, let's put something on this screen. go to create sketch. So this is basically the first thing that you will be doing every time you create something. So I just clicked on this bottom bit down here, and that's created a sketch there. Now, you can only create sketches on flat planes. I'll show you this more in a moment, but just keep that in the back of your mind. So now that we're on here, we can go to create. So we're going to create some geometry. In this case, we're going to do a rectangle. So up here, 2-point rectangle. So I'm just clicking down in 2 spots, and that creates it. However, there is a slightly different way that you can do this. Now you can see I've still got the rectangle selected. Click just anywhere, and then you see that we've got 2 dimensions that popped up. Now, for this particular model, I need to make it 73 millimeters, and hitting tab gets to the next one, 73 millimeters. So that is me now defined the size of this rectangle. This is not the way I was taught to do 3D CAD. This is how I was taught to do 2D CAD. Remember, a lot of the people that are now using 3-dimensional CAD started off in 2-dimensional CAD. So a lot of the functionality that would let you do stuff like that is still in there. However, it's not the way that Autodesk and my teachers at university would like you to make things. However, if that's the more comfortable way for you to make things, knock yourself out. CAD is meant to be as easy to use as possible and gives you as many options as possible to make an object, so that you are more thinking about how to, like, what this object will be at the end, rather than what actions you need to take to create it. So speaking of actions to create things, we need to define this, because that's the way I was taught, is basically draw your geometry, then define it. Now, how do we define things? Well, we can go to sketch dimension up here and say this is 73 millimeters. As I said, that's the size I need. Next, we'll have to go to the constraint to start constraining this in place. Now, first constraint that's going to make things easier is the equals. So equals equals. I could have just done a sketch dimension here and made it 73 millimeters. That would have worked. In fact, just so you know, you can do a few interesting things with this. So I'm going to just see this little bit here. That is the actual constraint. So you can just go in there and hit delete, and that will remove the constraint. So if a constraint pops up you don't want, you can do that. I'm going to go to sketch dimension, pick that, and then click the dimension that I just did there and hit enter. And you see it says function dimension. One of the things with CAD is you're also able to do little sums, and it will work things out. So there is, as I said, there's different ways of doing it. You will learn multiple ways of doing something, and that is fine. Anyway, the next thing I need to do with this constraint is, whilst the physical geometry is fully constrained, where it is in 3D space is not constrained. So the easiest way I've found to do what I want to do here is to draw a line. So just up in the create tool and look for this little triangle here. So if you highlight over a bit of geometry, it will snap to it. In this case, it's trying to say you're going to connect the line to here. Then if I get to that little triangle, that is midpoint. So you can see that up there, midpoint. I then want to go to the origin point and then the midpoint here. So escape to get out of that. And then I want to make this line and this line horizontal and vertical. So that then centers it. So that's what this is. One last thing I want to do here, highlight that line, and do construction line. Construction line means that for the purpose of extrudes or other geometry that you'll be creating, these lines do not exist, but for the sketches that you've created here, they exist. So, okay, finish sketch up the top here. And then let's use this to just rotate this to a more favourable angle, or just use the home button to bring it into full view. So that's our basic sketch. You can see it down the timeline. You can see it over here. I can hide it. I can even rename it. I've called it Bob because I'm mature like that. Anyway, I can extrude this, which is the next operations I need to do. It's just extrude. It's up in the create menu. And you can see automatically selects the sketch and the whole area. If I had not done these as construction lines, what would have happened is it would have said, do you want to select this, or you'd have to hit select shift to select both. So anyway, extrude gives us some options. We can do things, offset the extrude from the plane, object, whole bunch of things. We're just going to be doing one-sided direction, new body at 20 millimeters. We're going to not have a taper on it. There's a whole bunch of features here I'll show you in a minute. Then we're going to hit OK. Now we're going to create another sketch. And this time, as you can see, we have to do it only on a plane. There is ways around this, but I'll show you them in a moment. Anyway, create sketch on there. And I could just draw another rectangle and then dimension it all up and constrain it to the center point. But I am lazy. I am an engineer. Go to modify and go to offset. Click on that. And we want this to be offset 15 millimeters. Just not in that direction. If we hit flip here on this little menu here, or if it was like this, we could put a negative in front of it and that would flip it to be minus 15 millimeters. Hit OK. Finish sketch. Now we're going to extrude this in minus 15 millimeters. Notice something. This operation here went from new body to cut because it realized that we were trying to extrude into an object. We might have wanted to join. As silly as that would be, we might need to do that. We might have need to create a new body or do an intersect. But it reckoned we were trying to do a cut, which is correct. However, if it does get it wrong, you can change the operation you're trying to do there. You can select which object you wish to cut, because sometimes you will try to extrude something, go, oh, it's actually interacting with a body I do not want it to do, therefore I can remove the body I wish to cut. So, now that we're all happy with this, hit OK. So this is our basic glue pot holder here. Not very appealing, but it would do the job. Now, just before I move on, you can see this timeline here has filled up with different operations. So we've got our extrude, we've got all our sketches. So you can go back and put in something here if you wished, and this would take into account the change in geometry. Right, so as I said, this is boring. This is not really what we are needing, or wanting, sorry. So I'm going to spruce it up a little. Go to modify, chamfer. Click on all four sides at the top there, and then extrude it down 20 millimeters. Now, notice something. Well, you will have this down as equidistance. So it's trying to extrude this in 20 millimeters, but there is only 15 there. It's not happy with that. If we go to two-sided and change this one to 15 millimeters, oh, no, sorry, that was the wrong one. 20. Let's just pull the arrow this way to 10. Apologies, that's the size that we need. Hit OK. So this is starting to look a lot better. Now, I am going to fill out all these corners. You can see I can actually click on that geometry through the actual, that line through the geometry. Now I'm going to fill it that 5 millimeters, and that is starting to look like something a little more presentable. the last thing I'm going to do here, or sorry, the last thing, I'm going to put my name on it. So you can see, as I said before, you can only put a sketch on a flat plane. That flat plane does not have to be 90 degrees from anything else. It just has to be physically flat. So I couldn't make a sketch on this curved surface here, but I can on there. So if I go to create, go to text, click that little square up the top, and click down here. Now, I've already done this a few times, so I've already centered it, alignment, and made it 8mm, also made it bold. This is because this will fit better on the geometry that I'm using. I can hit OK. Now, to fully constrain this, I'm going to I'll drag and drop this green ball to there, that little square there, which will connect it to the corner. And that is my name, fully constrained. Extrude this in -3mm. Okay, so I've got some options here. If I want, I can put my name on all 3 other sides by creating a sketch on all 3 sides. But we've established I'm lazy, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go over here to create and go to pattern. Now this is doing a regular pattern. We want a circular pattern. So what is the, we've got options of feature, body, component, face. We're going to feature. What is the object you wish to turn into a pattern? Well, it's this extrusion here. What axis? We want round the center axis. How many do you want? We want 4. And that is my name all around it without me having to do multiple steps. As I said, it's designed to make things easy like that. But if you didn't know how to do that, you could still make that into you could still put your name all around it. One last thing, this is sort of something you can experiment with in your own time. You know how I said that you cannot create a sketch on this plane here? Well, there is ways around that, and that's where these construction planes come into play. I can make a construction plane on a tangent on that. Now, what I can do with that, I don't know, but you may find you need to. So, that is all the basics you will need. I'll just take us one step back because we don't really need that, and I'll probably just go in and delete this. You can do that from the timeline. Now, what is your homework for tonight? Your homework is to go and make a glue pot holder for something other than Tamiya. So you might want to make an individual paint pot holder, or you might have another type of glue, or you might just want a holder for your mug. Well, now you've got the basic tools. What you can do is you can go in and you can edit these dimensions to fit whatever you're trying to make. You may need to, for instance, if you are, let's just make an example here. You're making 80mm there, but this is now -30 to fit whatever you're doing. Well, you might need to then change this angle. However, you've now got the tools and understanding to go do this yourself. So, as I said, the links will be in the description for the file and the STL. Actually, that's a point. How do you turn this into an STL? Left click on here, save mesh as, and then say that you wish to export as STL. Binary ASC to be honest, I'm not too sure of the difference. I have not seen anything that makes me want to do either. So hit OK, and then it'll ask you where you wish to save it. You can choose where in your computer you wish to save it, or you can save it to the cloud, just save it to your computer. Um, oh, so once you've done that, you will have links on the sites that this will be uploaded to where you can make this into a remix. So if you can share your remixes around and show people what you have created. For now though, thank you for watching and I hope you found this useful.